Hello dear students, welcome back. Today we will do a quick review of what we have studied so far. We're going to start with our tenses and then we are going to talk about relative clause, and as we have studied in our last lesson, we'll also be going to talking about modal verbs. Okay, the first thing we have done in every course we started with tenses because it is very important for you to learn English and create meaningful sentences, and it is actually the foundation of our grammar. So we have talked about that we have two tense families. One of them is present family, and one of them, the other one, is past family. So also, as you may remember, we have talked about the time harmony that we need in our sentences. If we're talking about a combined sentence, if there's a conjunction that combines the two sentences, we need time harmony. So in that case, you have to know which tense belongs to which family. Okay, let's do something like this. In our present tense family, we, of course, first of all, have present simple tense. Present simple refers to the routines that we do, the actions that happen frequently. Next, we have present progressive tense, or as we may call present continuous. Then we have present perfect tense. Also, the present perfect progressive, then we have our future tenses. For example, future simple, future progressive, future perfect, and future perfect progressive. This is very important because all future tenses belong to present family. And what do we have in past family? Starting with simple past, past simple tense, then past continuous, which is also can be called past progressive. Then we have past perfect and past perfect progressive. We also have some models that we can use with past tense, which are could, would, used to, and we also have past future, which is was, were, going to. Okay, this is actually pretty much what we have studied so far and all the tenses you should know. When we are talking about a combined sentence with a conjunction, we should seek a time harmony. And if, let's say, first sentence consists of present simple, then the second sentence, in our combined sentence, the second one also need to have a tense from this family. Also, the same thing applies for past. Let's quickly and briefly remember our tenses. We have started with present simple which is our verb 1 form in our affirmative sentence. The negative sentence consists of do not and does not, verb 1. And in our question sentence, we start the sentence with do, does, and then subject, and then verb 1. So what we can say, what we can understand from this is that our auxiliary verb in present simple tense is do. When we want to summarize it. Let's go on with present progressive. We talked about, we put be as our verb of the sentence, and emizar is the form, our verb ing also. If I want to create a negative sentence, I will just add not to the be. And question sentence, we start with be, subject, and verb ing. So our auxiliary verb in present progressive is be. Let's go on with present perfect. We have talked about have, has, verb 3. If I want to make it a negative sentence, I would use haven't, hasn't, verb 3. And if I want to make a question sentence, I would put have, has in the beginning of the sentence, subject, and then again we have verb 3. So the auxiliary verb here is have. Let's talk about present perfect progressive. In here, this time, our rule is have, has, been, verb ing, which again makes our auxiliary verb have. You may wonder why I point out auxiliary verbs that much. Because you're going to need them in tag questions while creating, let's say, reported speech, etc. These are pretty important. Then we have talked about future simple, which we create with will. Future progressive, we create with will, be, verb ing. And then we have future perfect, will have, verb 3. And we have future perfect progressive, which is will have, been, verb ing. Let's go on with the past ones. Past simple, we use verb to. Past progressive, and our auxiliary verb is did. In past progressive, we use be, verb ing. In this case, it was, were. Then, in past perfect, we have had, verb 3, and with past perfect progressive, we have had, been, verb ing. So this is a brief one. to remember and remind you the basics of our tenses. Then we have talked about passive voice. We have the exact same structure in Turkish, so I think this topic is rather easier than the other ones to comprehend because it's very similar. In this one, we have talked about passive voice 1 and 2, and we made a chart. In passive voice 1, we use be verb 3. In passive voice 2, we use be being verb 3. For example, we had two rules. The first rule was to find the object of the sentence. And the second rule is you have to find the tense of the sentence. Why do we find these? We find objects to make it the subject of passive voice sentence. And we find tense because we are going to use be verb 3 as our verb, and we have to be clear about which tense we are using, so we are going to form be depending on it. Then we talked about if clauses. There was type 1, sorry, we are starting with type 0, type 1, type 2, and type 3. In type 0, we have 100% certainty. So we're talking about scientific facts here, something that can be proven. In type 1, we are again pretty sure, but it is not as certain as type 0. So let's say 80% certain. In type 2, we also call it unreal present. So we can call it like 10%, it's almost impossible. And in type 3, we call it unreal past, so which is impossible from now on to change. In type 0, in all of these types, we have two sentences. One of the sentences includes if in their sentence structure, and the other one is our main clause. So let's say that this is our if clause and this is our main clause. In type 0, we use present simple with if, and in our main clause we have also present simple as our tense. In type 1, we have again present simple inside the if clause, but this time we have future simple in our main clause. Or you can have a modal one. For example, can or may. And in our type 2, inside of our if clause, we have past simple. In the main clause, we have would or could, verb 1. In the type 3, we have past perfect in our if clause, which is had verb 3, and in our main clause we have would or could have verb 3. So this is like a basic review of if clauses. Then we have talked about modals, which we're going to briefly summarize. We started with modal verbs 1. We said that modal 1 represents present modals. When we are using these modals, we are referring to now. So we had obligation modals, ability, possibility, prohibition, prohibition, or unnecessary situations, advices, like this. The obligation ones must, have to, need to. We have talked about this. The ability ones can, possibility, could, may, might. Prohibition, we have mustn't or can't. Unnecessary, we use don't have to or needn't to or don't need to, doesn't need to. While giving advice, we are talking about should, ought to, and had better. And if we are giving a strong advice, we can also use must. Then we talked about modals 2. We started with should, have, verb 3. In modals 2, we're talking about past. Should have verb 3 means regret. We regret of something we didn't do in the past. Let's give an example. I should have called you before coming over, for example. It's something that I did, but I didn't, sorry. But now I regret it and I wish that I did. She should have gone to the doctor she would be better by now. She should have, but what we understand is she didn't. Then we have shouldn't have verb 3, and this time we're talking about something that we did something in the past, but we regret it. We regret doing it. She shouldn't have yelled at you like that, for example. We shouldn't have invited her. As you can see, we did, but we regret it. She yelled at you, and she shouldn't have. Next, we have can't or couldn't have verb 3, which represents impossibility in the past. For example, she can have been accepted for the job. They hired me. As you can see here, we are 100% sure that this is not possible. You couldn't have seen Jane. She is out of town, for example. They couldn't have gone to that movie. It doesn't play anymore. Again, we're talking about something that is impossible. Next, we have must have verb 3, which we are making a strong guess. And we have proof. Let's say she's never late for work. She must have got sick. So again, we're not 100% sure, but we have a proof, we have a solid proof, and it's a strong guess. It's like 80%. She must have fallen asleep, otherwise she would definitely called me. As you can see, it is a strong guess, but are we sure? Do we know that she is sleeping? No, but we are making a strong guess here. By the way, we also have could have verb 3 to express a possibility in the past, but it didn't happen. What does it mean? For example, you should have been more careful. You could have got injured seriously. So what we understand from here is that you didn't get injured seriously, but there was a possibility that you could have. For example, I could have passed my finals, but I was ill and I couldn't take them. Again, there was a possibility that I could have passed those tests, those finals. There was a possibility, but I didn't. She could have planned something nicer for my birthday. She had plenty of time. So here again, there was an ability, a possibility in the past, but we understand that she didn't. And last but not least, we have may or might have verb 3, which represents kind of low possibility in past. Okay, for example, I might have seen this movie before. I don't remember it. I don't remember if I saw or didn't. There's a possibility for both of them to be true. Okay, let's do a quick review from the beginning what we have done so far. We talked about tense families, the time harmony, tense harmony that we need in combined sentences. We started with present simple, whose auxiliary verb is do. This is the structure. Present progressive, our auxiliary verb is be. In present perfect, our auxiliary verb is have, and we use have, has, verb 3. By the way, speaking of which, let's do a quick review of our irregular verbs, and then we will continue with our review. Verb 1, verb 2, and verb 3. For example, become, became, became. Begin, began, begun. Bite, bit, bitten. Bleed, bled, bled, blow, blew, blown, break, broke, broken, bring, brought, brought. Let's continue. Build, built, and built is also the verb 3 form. We have buy, bought, bought, catch, caught, caught, choose, chose, chosen. We have costs, dig, these are pretty important for you to memorize because it will be very important in every grammar structure that we have. Then we talked about modals. Modal 1 consists of present tenses. We have obligation, which we use must, have to, need to. Ability, we can use can, be able to, capable of. Impossibility, we can use could, may, might. Prohibition, we use mustn't or can't. Unnecessary situation, don't have to, doesn't have to, needn't or don't need to, doesn't need to. And with advices, we use should, ought to, had better, or for a strong advice, we use must. In modals 2, we are referring to the past tense. And we started with should have verb 3, which gives us the meaning that we should have done in the past, but we didn't, and now we regret it. I should have called you before coming over. Now I regret that I didn't call you before I came. She should have gone to the doctor. She would be better by now. This is the thing that she should have done, but she didn't. Then we have the negative version of it, shouldn't have verb 3. We did something in the past and now we regret it. We wish that we didn't do it. She shouldn't have yelled at you like that, but she did. We shouldn't have invited her, but we invited her. Then we continue it with can't, couldn't have verb 3. Impossibility in the past. For example, she can't have been accepted for the job. They hired me. I know 100% certainty that she didn't get the job because they hired me. I got the job. You couldn't have seen Jane. She's out of town. Again, impossibility. They couldn't have gone to that movie. It doesn't play anymore. Must have verb 3 represents strong guess. We have proof, but also we're not 100% sure. She's never late for work. She must have got sick. This is my guess, but I also have a proof. She must have fallen asleep. Otherwise, she would definitely call me. Then we talked about could have verb 3, which represents ability or possibility in the past, but we know the result and it didn't happen as the way that we have expressed. You should have been more careful. You could have got injured seriously. As you can see here, it was a possibility, but it didn't happen and we are giving an advice about that. I could have passed my finals, but I was ill and I couldn't take them. If I did, I could. There was a possibility, but I didn't, so it didn't end up like that. May or might have verb 3, low possibility in the past. I might have seen this movie before, I don't remember. As you can see, it's our chances 50% for each. I might have or might not have. We don't know that. Then we gave some examples for irregular verbs, which you should memorize. Okay guys, thank you for watching this lesson. I hope you understood and enjoyed our lesson. Make sure you review and study hard for these topics. Hope to see you on our next lesson. Take care of yourselves.